in the 80s, when frankly it seems all the players were good friends. Nathan Murphy, hello.
How are you?
Ann-Marie Donelan, hello.
Hello.
53106 is the text number. We're off the ball. We also have, we were just arguing there during the news.
No, we said we weren't going to.
This was done last night, I presume, ad nauseum, so I'm not going to bore the listeners again. But we are having our Moment of the Decade competition. This is done in knockout round scenarios. We were into the last 16. We had Shane Long comfortably beat Meath versus Louth yesterday. That was no surprise.
75-25.
75-25. This evening, it's Pat Hickey and his arrest in his dressing gown.
No, you were going to say there for a sec. Pat Hickey's bum is what we're talking about.
Pat Hickey versus the O'Donovan silver medal at the Olympics. That is this evening's one. Have we, JP, got a comfortable leader?
No, we can't. No, it's very tight. Get your votes in.
Sorry, get your votes in. It's very tight. It could be very tight. I haven't even asked all day what the story is.
I think Pat Hickey's arse was making a bit of a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
This will surely be tighter than 75-25.
Like Pat Hickey, that was definitely a...
unforgettable moment.
The moments. It still seems quite unbelievable now when I think back to it.
See, the criteria for this stuff was very difficult because I remember Pat Hickey and the CCTV image far more vividly than the O'Donovan silver medal, and yet I feel like theirs was a greater achievement.
No, but you remember the interviews.
You remember their characters, yeah. But that's where...
You remember the day.
The interviews have blended into one, no? I don't remember it that well.
Wow.
I remember them and Graham Norton afterwards.
It says more about you than it does about the actual moment.
Does it?
Go on. You've got your complaints as well.
We're into achievement versus moment. This is the problem.
Well, we're not.
We reached
Well, if they win, it's their character that's going to win it for them.
Well, okay. So I was saying to you, I was going through some of the moments. We have, tomorrow's a toughie. We're going to debate this later on. Shane Lowry, winning the Open, obviously, versus Ireland beating the All Blacks in Chicago. We'll come to that. Next moment, that's a tough tie. We're going to lose a biggie there. Sexton's drop goal versus Ireland's hockey summer. Now, how is that a moment? Ireland's hockey summer.
Because they had a moment over the course of the summer.
But then, one of the rounds is Tipperary 2010 versus Dean Rock GPS. And I was saying, Dean Rock GPS, that, I don't even know which All-Ireland that is. That's not the big moment. For me, it's Cluxton's point.
But Cluxton's there as well.
I know, but for me, it's by a distance Cluxton's point.
So you don't think there was one standout moment from Dublin's 5 in a row? You don't think Dean Rock, deep into injury time, kicking a point to beat Mayo, who, just a matter of moments earlier, Joe, were poised to win their first All-Ireland since 1951.
It was the one out of the 5 that they almost lost by the closest of margins. And then his moment...
But my point to you then was, though, I thought, well, should winning the Grand Slam at Twickenham on St. Patrick's Day not be in there? And you said that's not a moment. But Tipperary 2010 is in there.
Well, we did have this debate because there was a discussion about whether Galway, Limerick winning was a moment. So the emotion of Galway winning, or was it Joe Canning's free against Tipperary in the semi-final? Was that a moment?
Are you judging all these
Limerick,
things?
Should it have been Nicky Quaid save in the semi-final? Is that the moment, or just Limerick and the Cranberries playing on the full-time whistle?
Yeah,
that is the moment.
That's the moment for me.
But I was outnumbered in that, and the judging panel went with Tipperary ending Kilkenny's run for 5 in a row. I don't think there's any question that Sexton's moment is a more memorable moment than Ireland's victory at Twickenham.
Yes.
Twickenham doesn't happen if Johnny Sexton doesn't kick the drop goal, for starters. And also, it's a Grand Slam. Come on, most other countries win them all the time. Just because we never do.
They don't. Scotland only have 3 of them. We've only 3 of them.
Wales have won what? 4 of them in the last 15 years.
And they're big
Exactly.
moments. They're
just
big
because
moments.
we've underachieved for years and years and years. Look, we won at Twickenham with a brilliant team, with England under strength.
That logic doesn't hold. That logic doesn't hold at all. If you're applying the we've underachieved logic, then the O'Donovans winning a silver medal shouldn't be there. That is only there because we don't win Olympic medals. So you can't have it both ways.
No, but the reason the O'Donovans was memorable, Cian O'Connor isn't on that list and he won a medal.
Well.
It was memorable because of their personalities.
Yeah, I know. I just think the criteria here is a little off.
It's not a perfect science.
No, it's not.
It's not a perfect science. But I do think definitely Sexton should be in there ahead of Twickenham. The All-Ireland victories were tough because, as I say, do you go back to one Canning free, one Nicky Quaid save, or maybe we should have just gone with the Cranberries playing after Limerick had won. We were out and about on the streets today. We sent some of our best people out onto Grafton Street because Dan had said...
Because all good debates are solved
Well,
on
I had brought up
Grafton
the fact
Street.
that asked the people on Grafton Street, and Dan wasn't happy last night about the fact I was suggesting that the people on Grafton Street may not remember Dundalk's run through the Europa League quite as well as he does. But so people were out in Grafton Street today, and Limerick was coming right up there as the most memorable moments.
Okay.
Didn't make the shortlist.
Interesting. Because I just don't know how you compare Tip 2010 with Johnny Sexton's drop goal.
Well, you just have to.
No, I understand that.
So that's the aim of this.
What's the favourite to win?
I assume Katie is the favourite, but Cluxton could be a bit of an outsider, and then Robbie Brady.
No.
What?
No.
You're not having Robbie Brady?
We need to start being honest about that Italy game.
Sorry, were you at the game?
Irrelevant. Irrelevant. Sorry, that's a stupid thing to say.
No.
We need to start being honest about that game.
Why?
But it's how it made you feel in the moment.
That was probably the greatest Irish football moment since Robbie Keane-Nibaraki. Without question.
What are the other contenders?
There are none. The fact that we played well against France.
We gave Sweden a good 1-1 battering. Wes scored. I'm joking. No, it probably is. But if we're being honest about that, we haven't achieved much in football, so it's not like there's much competition. They were an understrength Italian side. They were already through.
But as a moment, seconds earlier, Wes Houlihan had missed this glorious chance. We thought it was gone.
I obviously understand these
And the
things.
emotion of everything about it was finally.
Yes, I know.
Finally, some sweet release this team has given us.
I get all that, but we have to look back here, clear-eyed, sober. How well has that aged, the more we think about that game and the Italians?
I still look back at that as probably my most enjoyable night of work. Possibly Shane Lowry might be the only one that runs it close. Lowry's definitely another contender.
Yeah.
I wonder, will the recent problems of the rugby team count against all the various rugby contenders of the last decade?
Well, I think we'll talk about that later. I think the Ireland and Chicago thing, because it's part of this World Cup cycle, you're probably thinking, well, where was it
suddenly
going?
Diminished.
It's part of a journey. You know, if this was part of a team's march towards World Cup semi-final, well, then I guess getting to the World Cup semi-final might be the moment. So you've Katie's goal against Leinster in 2011. See, Katie's goal is looking like very hard to beat. Cluxton's point against Galway's All-Ireland is Wednesday. Robbie Brady, by the way, is against Michael Conlon at 2016, letting the judges know what he thought of things.
Cluxton, if the it's a big Dublin population, and I do remember being at that game in terms of memorable moments. Those seconds as Cluxton was walking up the ball, this sort of weird, not silence, but just the whole stadium fully aware of exactly what was at stake with that one kick of the ball.
Yeah,
and it very much stands the test of time.
It does. If you say to me the past decade, that's the moment I think of first. It started everything. 2011, Cluxton's free.
In Gaelic football or in sport?
Oh no, in Gaelic, from a Dublin point of view. Like, I know what you're saying.
So what's your standout moment, most memorable moment, not greatest achievement, most memorable moment?
I think Limerick should be in there, Mayo and Kerry.
Look, the list has been made, all right?
It was pretty defining, like.
They're all defining. As I said last night, Mayo winning 5 Connacht titles in a row is pretty defining.
Oh, come on.
Joe, you're arguing against a man who voted for Declan Rice for Young Irish Player of the Year. You're wasting your breath as a texter. Oof.
And it won.
The whole thing is null and void, says somebody. Lowry against the friendly victory in Chicago doesn't even make sense. Nathan has spent too much time in the office.
This segment is going down really well.
He needs to go down to the IFSC and do a bit of white water rafting to clear the head.
Sorry, what's his point? That Lowry won't beat Chicago?
Oh no, I think because he calls it the friendly victory in Chicago, that Lowry will win by a country mile.
I'm expecting Lowry probably to win, but I think that's one of the tastier last 16 ties.
Okay.
You haven't given your opinion though. You see, much like Dan McDonald last night, much like Anne-Marie once again, ready to give out about all this, but not willing to fully commit. Go on, Anne-Marie. Favourite moment of the last decade?
Just from the list.
I worry now that Anne-Marie, you're going to go and say that you're so young you can't really remember some of the things that happened at the start of the decade.
No, Katie, obviously.
Okay.
It's hard to look past Katie.
But I'd have Brady up there, up high.
So I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the top 16.
You feel at the time.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the top 16. Oh, look, in terms of how you feel, obviously it was magic. But in terms, it's how you feel versus achievement.
It's not the greatest achievements upon reflection.
So sorry, it's not greatest achievement. It's how it made me feel. Is that the criteria?
In the moment.
To the nation.
How it made me feel.
Exactly.
Right.
Did it make you feel warm inside? Did Pat Hickey's arse make you feel warm inside?
No.
Between the two tonight, how are you going to side?
Sorry, what are we talking about?
The two Rio moments.
Pat Hickey versus the O'Donovans.
Yeah.
The O'Donovans. But I remember.
But you just said you can't remember it.
I said I remember Pat Hickey's and the CCTV footage and the shock of that, and it was just incredible what was going on. I remember that more vividly than do you remember the race well? Do you remember the race? No.
Yeah, they led for ages
Who beat
because
them?
they had the quick start.
The French.
I think it was the
You've
Netherlands.
just been looking back on this. That's the only
Was
reason.
it French?
Was it the French?
I think it was the Netherlands.
generally
No, it was the Dutch. It was the
Generally
Dutch.
French.
I think it was the Dutch.
the
It might have been the Dutch.
I think it was the Dutch.
There you go. That's my only point on that. Okay, the interviews were fantastic, and they all that, but even they were disappointed. If you ask the O'Donovans about that, their
But it's not
overwhelming
about
sense
achievement.
is. So what is it about then? How it makes you feel?
Yes.
Jesus. How am I meant to feel about Pat Hickey?
Whatever way you want. Vote for it if you want.
Right. Another thing, by the way, I heard Ivan Yates pushing just before we came off air there. There should be disciplinary action tomorrow. Tune in to watch me on Premier Sport tonight with Giles, Brady and Dunphy.
Well, in fairness, Joe, pot kettle when it comes to that sort of thing.
I haven't done that ever.
You know?
Never.
How was last night with Joe Schmidt?
Good. But it wasn't being broadcast. This is off to a cranky start, this show. This bloody list.
Has it annoyed you?
No, I think
So
it's
Ivan's
not
got
easy.
the old band back together.
Yes, yeah. Have you seen? Literally,
Is Brady
have you
on
seen
as
the
well?
Yeah, it's Giles, Dunphy, Brady
Right.
with Ivan Yates presenting.
You know, I won't lie, Joe. I would have thought, after the last 2 years, that myself and John had a good thing going, that when the negotiations were happening, you might have said, you know what, I've got just the guy.
Do you not get the distinct sense he dislikes you? Genuinely.
Wow. Wow.
That'd be my sense.
Wow. Maybe lately.
Right, we need to get moving. So you can vote for that. Where do people vote for that, JP?
Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter.com, says JP.
Or Twitter.com. Twitter.com.
The Off the Ball Twitter page.
Yes.
Yes, okay, let's go with that.
Wow.
Anywhere else? Can people vote anywhere else? Instagram. Okay, excellent. I've heard of it.
You got an Instagram account?
Yeah, but I mean, not much going on in it. Do you?
I do, yeah.
Is it public?
No.
Right. Where are we starting? Okay, so, yes.
Yeah, okay, I'll just start. The FAI today appointed former newspaper publisher Paul Cooke as the new executive lead of the association, and this comes after John Foley stepped away from taking the reins as interim CEO yesterday in what was due to be his first day on the job. Waterford native Cooke was elected vice president of the association at the AGM in the summer, and he now basically becomes the interim CEO. He has been critical, interestingly enough, of former CEO John Delaney in the past, particularly when it comes to financial issues. Minister for Sport Shane Ross, though, doesn't seem happy with the appointment, and he's released a statement this evening saying he believes the most urgent priorities for the FAI should be the appointment of the 4 independent directors, the independent chairperson, and the filling of the CEO vacancy, whether on an interim or full-time basis. He then went on to say the various stakeholders will continue to be concerned until such time as the board and the executive are led by completely independent people without any prior or present involvement with the FAI.
General thoughts on this? We'll talk about it in the football show.
Well, Paul Cooke is firstly a chartered accountant, which it seems is going to be quite key over the coming weeks and months, because the latest FAI accounts and the reimagined FAI accounts are going to be released on Thursday. The expectation is that the debt is going to be, well, Paul Cooke himself said a couple of months ago, shocking. And we're all unshockable, so you could be looking at somewhere towards €50 million. That will have to be dealt with. This Shane Ross statement sort of feels unhelpful. It's very much reiterating what they said last night, that they don't want any connections with the old FAI. Is Paul Cooke connected with the old FAI? He was on the council at one stage, so would have
Is what
worked.
Shane Ross wants in any way possible? Like completely...
Yes, but
connected.
it wasn't possible today. Like, in fairness, I understand the need to get, if, you know, they obviously had John Foley step away this week, and get Paul Cooke in, at least get somebody there as the executive lead. I think that's a fair enough thing to do. Ross's point is that, I mean, they're not mutually exclusive things, where he says the priority is to get the 4 independent directors, the independent chairperson, and fill the CEO vacancy. I don't think having Paul Cooke in there today is a terrible thing to happen at all. You know, that's fair enough. They still need to do what he's saying. He's releasing a lot of statements, though. Every time I look up, there's a Shane Ross statement.
It's 2 in 2 days.
Yeah.
He's certainly commenting on absolutely everything that the FAI do. They're an easy target. They're a deserved target.
Yeah.
So he very much, I think, probably has the public on his side. But Dan McDonnell in the Indo today was saying, ideally, you'd have a situation where the next full-time CEO of the FAI, we've never heard of them, and maybe they've never even heard of the FAI, that it's an absolute outsider who has no connections, because it's hard to find anybody, going on Shane Ross's criteria, anybody within Irish football who can't have some connection.
Yeah.
Like, where have they been? There is no outside, really, that have had some connection somewhere down the line with John Delaney. How long Paul Cooke is going to be there for? The independent directors, it was the beginning of October. There was an expectation then that they would be appointed in the next couple of weeks. The FAI say they still haven't been told the names of those suggested to be the 4 independent directors, and then they have to go and recruit a permanent CEO, which could take, you would think, at least 6 months if you're going after a quality candidate. What sort of job are you offering them when these new figures come out? And we saw the speculation, we can touch on it in the football show, and the story in the paper this morning about UEFA putting out the possibility that, well, maybe if the FAI are looking for a quick fix and they need to get money in quickly, maybe they should sell their stake in the Aviva Stadium.
What a disaster that would be if it comes to that. So there's live football on this evening. Man City in action?
Yeah, Premier League champions Man City will be looking to get back to winning ways tonight. They head to Turf Moor. That's to take on Burnley from 8:15. Obviously, after dropping points at the weekend, they trail leaders Liverpool by 11 points going into it. At 7:30, then Crystal Palace host Bournemouth. The only Irish interest there is Republic of Ireland's James McCarthy on the bench for Palace. Team news for City isn't out yet.
Revolution starting in football tonight. Not in Ireland, but Amazon streaming every game over the next 3 nights. Probably the reason, I presume, that we have a 8:15 kickoff. Is this the first time?
No memory of 8:15 ever.
It's a bit weird.
There hasn't been a 8:15 in recent years.
Merseyside Derby's 8:15 tomorrow night as well.
Ever. What would the logic be?
Aimed at the American market, would it be? Like, what difference does 15 minutes make?
I don't know.
Perhaps they're staggering the kickoff times so that people tune into different games at different times.
Yeah, I don't know. They've paid for, 20 games a season over 3 years, and they also have the rights for Stephen's Day, round of games 26th and 27th, which includes, by the way, Liverpool-Leicester on Stephen's Day.
Turns out, going to be a massive game, and that's a late evening kickoff as well on Stephen's Day.
The ideal. Amazon is going big. I was reading 43 presenters, commentators and pundits signed up, including Alan Shearer, Jermaine Genius, Michael Owen, Thierry Henry, Gabby Logan, Conor McNamara, Guy Mowbray.
They literally got everybody who worked for the BBC, ITV and anybody in between to work for them over the next while. It is 20 games, but it's only 2 match rounds. So there's 10 games this week and there's 10 games around Stephen's Day, and that's it.
There's a text in, lads, I didn't enjoy that Katie London goal moment as much as I should have, because inexplicably I thought it was only the semi-final. I must have been the only man in the country who didn't realise she just won gold. It ruined the moment for me.
I'd
Gutted.
say so.
The more I look at Robbie Brady, if we're talking feelings is an entirely different matter. I don't know where you're on feelings. That's bumping it up, in my opinion.
Touching into your emotional side, Joe.
How do
Let it out there.
So I see Robbie Brady is up against Michael Conlon. How do I compare the feeling of euphoria with the feeling of rage? What's a more powerful feeling?
Oof.
What wins out?
Well, tell us, Joe.
Love.
For you.
Love always.
It's different for every person.
Love wins out. But the intensity of the rage you might have felt over Conlon, and he's there giving him the finger, these corrupt scumbags.
It was both rage and pride.
Yeah, he's calling these scumbags out. But I'm raging for him. Versus Katie, which was just slightly euphoric. I was there for Katie's thing, so that kind of trumps it. But he's up against Robbie Brady. He's up against Robbie Brady. Oof.
You're divided. Robbie Brady.
I think Robbie Brady wins that, doesn't he? Ultimately, joy triumphs, Nathan. You know that. Tip 2010 versus Dean Rock's GPS. That's another good one. Sorry, I'm ruining the week.
We are going to be chatting about this for the next 3 weeks.
I'm only coming to this late, so I'm starting to think about them more.
All right.
The feelings.
When you've properly thought about it, come back.
Shane Long, Meath Loud did very well to get in there.
No. Being loud is the most controversial GAA moment of the last 10 years.
If we're talking feelings.
Well, if you were from Meath or Louth, you'd have a strong feeling.
No, sure. Within the confines of Meath and Louth.
You would have gone for Newbridge or nowhere, been higher.
No. No, I don't think so. Yeah, Meath and Louth, I don't know.
You're having a lot of conversations with yourself right now, Joe. It's really good radio.
So, we have done Man City. Where are we going next?
Everton boss Marco Silva says he's not feeling the pressure of possibly being sacked. The Toffees currently 17th in the Premier League table, just 2 points hovering above the relegation zone. They also have a massive task tomorrow night, as you mentioned earlier, Joe. They head to Anfield to face Liverpool in the first Merseyside derby of the season. Going into the game, Liverpool 26 points ahead of them. Despite this, Silva is putting on a brave face.
What is my feeling about the job? Some moments of the season I was more happy with the results, like normal. When you are in this job, you want to win every single matches. And of course I was happy, not with some frustrations like we had last few weeks. Like last game we had a big frustration in that match, Norwich match as well, but in a different way. But this is what it is, but nothing changed in my mind. What is my work rate here at Finch Farm every single day, what I'm demanding from my players, nothing changed.
He'll do well to see out the week.
It feels that way.
Manchester United at the weekend. Though in saying that, this time last year he was under a bit of pressure and they were coming into a difficult run of fixtures and they sort of ground out a couple of points here and there, and they did the same at the end of the season. But they're just such a mess at the back at the moment. It's hard to see Liverpool not. I probably said the same thing for the derby last season when Origi scored the goal in the 94th minute. You would have expected Liverpool to batter them. But what was it, 20 years since they beat Liverpool at Anfield?
They played okay at the weekend, obviously. They could very easily have beaten Leicester. So that at least showed they were, to an
Playing
extent,
for the manager.
on side with the manager. Yeah, one hates to use that cliche. But it is true. I mean, sometimes it's very apparent when the whole thing is falling apart. It didn't seem like that.
Yeah, they're just so badly organised at the back and he's never really
Got to grips
with it at all.
They have confirmed Richarlison.
Yeah, he signed a new contract today and that will keep him there until the summer of 2024. So some slightly good news for Everton fans. Elsewhere then in the snooker, reigning champion Ronnie O'Sullivan booked his place in the last 16 of the UK Championship in York today. The 5-time world champion beat Thai player Napan Sangkam 6 frames to 2. That was in their last 32 clash. However, there was a massive shock yesterday. 54-year-old Nigel Bond knocked out world champion Judd Trump, and O'Sullivan, in reacting to that today, felt he deserved his victory.
No matter who you are, you know, when you're playing week in, week out, at some point, you know, it's very difficult to keep that momentum going. And at some point, you know, someone's going to play a blinder against you and you might be a little bit off, and that's all it takes. And I thought Nigel played brilliantly well and, you know, deserved his victory, you know. You respect the game a bit more, I suppose, you know what I mean? You just realise that, you know, you can't play well every day.
And finally, Joe, just the IRFU revealed today that Paul Dean has officially stepped down from his post as Ireland team manager. Dean, who is a former Irish player, was an integral part of the Ireland setup since succeeding Mick Carney in the logistical role in 2016. He paid tribute to his former colleagues and reflected on his highlight in the job, saying that he enjoyed working with all the team management, players and administrators at the IRFU for the past 3 seasons.
Okay. Connor has one final say on the general lineup there in our moment of the decade. Joe, how can stopping a 5-in-a-row be a moment unless you're from Tip or you hate the Cats or maybe both? Well, I guess Seamus Darby's goal is one of the moments of the century, so...
Oof, is that next?
Oh, God, what have we done?
The moment of the century.
So, I guess that's how. And it was an amazing game. I mean, that was kind of where you realised this Tip Limerick, or this Tip Kilkenny thing was just... ridiculously good. That was part of it. You needed Tip to win one.
Yeah, would Kilkenny winning the 5 in a row have been more memorable though?
No.
No?
It was the shock of the moment.
Now that this, at the time I think I probably was split, and it's always nice to see history, but you wanted them stopped. And we didn't know that much about that Kilkenny side at the time. Now that we know so much about them, I kind of really wish they'd done it.
Yeah, that's true actually. Anyway, we don't have to worry about that just now. That Tip 2010 is up against Dean Rock's GPS. That's to save her for next Monday, so we won't get ahead of
I'll
ourselves.
make sure I'm not here.
We are, as we've mentioned, at the last 16 stage of our sporting moment of the decade vote off tonight. As we said, it is the Rio 2016 Derby, the O'Donovan brothers and their silver medal against Pat Hickey.
Gary and Paul O'Donovan from Skibbereen, Olympic silver medalists. How does it feel?
It's fantastic. We haven't had too much of a chance yet to come to terms with it. We're a little bit disappointed we didn't come away with the gold medal. I think we put it up to the French as best we could, and we just closed there at the end. I'd say we were going all over the lane, but we're dreading going home now because Conlon said he boxed the head off us if we didn't get the goal. So.
Feeling when they crossed the line?
That was hard, yeah, hard work. We're bad out at that stage. I didn't know what was after happening.
I didn't know if we won a medal or not, and I saw it on the big screen.
Then we were second, and he informed me then of that, so
It was all Boston into like a circus.
Have you spoken to your nanny yet?
No, we haven't spoken to
We'll
anyone.
get on the phone to her now in a minute, but we heard there's no brown cake being made today with the excitement.
We still have hours to go in Rio, where Pat Hickey is currently under guard in hospital, awaiting questioning on 3 serious charges which carry sentences of 7 years.
Facing charges on the basis of ticket touting, forming a cartel and illicit marketing. So this is Europe's top Olympic official. This is not just somebody from one of the 206 countries. This is a member of the IOC Executive Board. He's been the Olympic Council of Ireland president since the late 1980s. So this is a very big figure, not just in Irish sport, but in global sport.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Christmas is a time for giving.
That's a massive hit.
And taking.
Oh, what a steal.
A time for helping out. Welcoming everyone to our home. And appreciating the good works of others.
Superb try, just when they needed it.
Let battle commence. Leinster versus Northampton Saints. Saturday, December 14th at 5:15 p.m.